Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South Africa is looking to grow its share of the global market for small to medium-sized space systems and is considering investing in a new satellite. Keith Campbell joins me to take a look at recent developments. Keith, welcome to Second Take. Recently released answers to parliamentary questions have cast some light on South Africa's satellite program. What did they reveal?
Yes, these were written answers to questions placed by a member of the opposition Democratic Party, a member of Parliament. The first thing is the government is considering, the Department of Science and Technology is considering investing 450 million rand in the construction of a new Earth observation satellite that would be between 250 kilograms and 400 kilograms in mass. That would be developed over the next 4.5 or so years as part of the African Resources and Environmental Management Satellite Constellation Program. Now, this constellation program, known as ARM for short, it was originally just called the African Resources Management Constellation, involves South Africa, Nigeria, Algeria and Kenya. And the idea is to develop a constellation of at least 3 satellites that would provide Earth observation imagery which would be accessible by all the countries in the constellation. This would maximize coverage of the countries of Africa and minimize reaction time. Satellites overfly a specific part of the planet much less frequently than Hollywood movies imply. So the more satellites you have access to, the more rapidly you can get imagery of a specific location, which is critically important if you're dealing, for example, with a disaster. In addition to that, a second written answer revealed that the Department of Science and Technology has awarded contract work worth more than 10 million rand in the recent past. We're not certain of the time period. It could be anything from 6 to 18 months to the Stellenbosch company Sunspace and Information Systems. Now, Sunspace is South Africa's only satellite design and manufacturing company. It also produces systems for satellites, and it was responsible for South Africa's Sumbandila Earth observation satellite. It also supplied an Earth observation satellite, well, they're microsatellites, to a foreign customer. The name of that customer has never been disclosed. We do know, however, that the exported satellite worked very well indeed. And they've also produced parts for other countries' satellites and microsatellites. Now, the interesting, perhaps the worrying thing, is that the then Minister of Science and Technology, Naledi Pandor, who has very recently been made Minister of Home Affairs and has been replaced as Minister of Science and Technology by her previous deputy, Derek Hanekom. In her answer, she made it clear that this work was being done in an attempt to keep the company afloat and to maintain its human capital base. Clearly, South Africa's satellite program is not going as rapidly as Sunspace originally hoped, and clearly this is posing a problem for the company in terms of keeping active. Sunspace is one of the very few companies in the world in this field, but it is highly competitive, and the competitors are either very big groups or they have the support of very big groups that have got much greater resources than Sunspace. So it does make their position in the international market weaker. Now, the government decided in principle to buy a majority stake in Sunspace, but they have not yet done so. They are currently executing a couple of inquiries into the business case for Sunspace and into the long-term sustainability of the company. And until these are concluded, the actual decision in principle to take a majority stake will not be implemented in practice. But we don't know how long these inquiries are going to take.
Can you give us some idea of what is happening in other African countries?
Well, the simple truth is that those African countries that are seriously involved in space are making steady progress. I mentioned earlier the proposed African Resources and Environmental Management Constellation, which would include Nigeria, Algeria and Kenya as well as South Africa. Well, Nigeria and Algeria could create such a constellation right now if they chose. The Nigerians have 2 Earth observation satellites in orbit, and the Algerians have 1. So there are 3 satellites up there already, which are owned and operated by these 2 African countries. The Nigerian satellites were designed in the United Kingdom, and the Algerian satellite in France. These countries have also got active programs of technology and expertise transfer with the suppliers of their satellites. Nigerian scientists and engineers have been undergoing training in Britain. In fact, one of the 2 Nigerian satellites currently in orbit, though it was built in Britain, it was actually built by Nigerians who were sent to Britain to do that. Likewise, Algerian engineers and technicians and scientists have been undergoing training in France and previously in the United Kingdom. So there's a steady program by these countries to build up their capabilities. The Algerians hope to assemble their next Earth observation satellite in Algeria itself, and the Nigerians have a program to be able to do the same within the next few years. Now, Kenya is way behind these 2 countries. It's a smaller country, it's a poorer country. Nevertheless, the Kenyans have begun to step up their space activities. The government decided late last year to create a space agency, and Kenyan engineers and technicians are actually participating in the assembly of an Earth observation satellite in Italy. Kenya has a long standing ties with Italy with regard to space. The Italians at one point actually operated a satellite launch facility in Kenya, and they still maintain a satellite tracking facility in the country. So the Kenyans are cooperating with the Italians, the Nigerians with the British, the Algerians with the French. Interestingly, these cooperation programs between these African countries and the European partners seem to be going much more rapidly than the proposed cooperation between them and South Africa, which leads one to wonder if, paradoxically or not, the problem with inter-African cooperation may be that it is South Africa that is the slow coach and not the other African countries.
Keith, thank you very much. That is the Second Take show for this week. Thank you for watching, and join us again next time for more news analysis.